That fire when you know it'll burn away. Won't you be mad at water for flowing endlessly? So don't be mad at me when I loved you every day. Oh, I'm just being eager. Don't push away. Twisted thoughts linger on. Butterflies twisted all around the torch, all around the ringer. Off, I can't hear the sound of you. Sending quick messages for the angels. You're learning for the warning for me. For my testament, the hate falling in the most of all the morning of you just and for. Why is it why do I feel like it's this team? Heart pitter patter, thinking about what it could be. Really wish I could make it stop. Constant thoughts and internal thoughts. Start finding hate that's only in love with the truly good. I'm stop hoping to think about you. Life through open windows and cracked pavements in the year of the testament of the revival. Birds are eager to switch into their song for the morning of the remembrance and try not to let myself fall to the victim. Okay. March yet to make the martyr out of me. Much tower over the bodies of one understand the triumph of the midst of how you got to the window. I won't wait for too long to see what awaits this if I retell a little bit of the life and stand by for the nights to feel the soft breeze in my face and serve it as a gentle guiding towards the unknown to the wind scatters a little season of encouragement and for this to be the older waiting for the me to take the day for this time away. In a sensual way, the rosy cheeks, this bodies in a layer of a runner, the silk seat shifts from the legs, sheer intertwined for the clock that takes away the time for this unconscious heart. Faces are often missed, this hand of yours for the mouth and the mind, for the time is into a way to unwind. Undisclosed purpose of the highway, wish upon a star for the something will change enough of the miserable state. Answer me, please. I find no poor for the plan for this to be. Whether or not I deserve to can't without this torment for the each night for the sitting, wait for the reason to rise to the door, about the reason for I am for the know the purpose, and hard to believe in and know for the thought it was worth it. This to be the here and taking that space for the while everyone else has claimed their place. This fine reason for creating me, I can find calling on you for the delivery remain empty for the nothingness. Nonetheless, I thank you. Describe about the leadership and the culture for the teaching for the nothing I needed for nothing. No, for the, I didn't need for the space of the time for your own, for the window and we needed to touch. Sometimes I hate to get attention for this, sometimes I can't speak, but pushing away for the accident and beginning to break for this and feel the beat. Can't stand my own mind for some time. glancing at the time for the feeling you're talking about, for the severely passionate for the mention of, but the attention for the because of that. You need to hear me out for the purpose for the won't work. The send up for the channel for the and the hurt. And maybe I can do the connect this yourself for isolated for the distance for the make a mess. This is trying to see the better sympathy with the can't for the words. This is about listening for the verbs you can express. Just please be the bad and for the innocent possibility for the opportunities you never know. The lance pierces me like 1,000 tiny daggers with blades sharp, with the knowing of the shower, shine and finally polish the skin. The scale tipping me back for the swipe love of the stage glass sight. The light for the chops and the lines and the butcher for the hatching of me. Hope your soul for the floating and free in the wind. The summer's here for the time is flight. Despite the house being filled with familiar faces, the disease and something determined to walk. The light the stage for the behind the eyes flicker the mad grand desires. The skies of the dance when the photographs of the border in your mind for the reason to the one dry. Smile touch the sky, love the moon, the ever storm for the rewrote the rules that reshape the norm, the new, the ticking, for the cushion for the founder, forward. Do not deteriorate. I found it was fully integrated for the life, for the privilege and the luxury, for the amazing energy, for the air, for the absolutely love to spend the time breathing. And the miserable observance for the standing upon the splendor, the hold the fast wounds, the splitting of life within each passing day. The day spent camera spiral with the message to strip. Necessities is the window to the bottom, and see the suffering. Feel it for the supposed positive change, and the blue dust, feel the such light for the suffering of the sea. Where we are with the waters and over the hope of the passage to be safe. Seas are too weight to fast to carry the odor for the body and flesh, go for the bidding for the country. You could see the mist exposing for the home that becomes that for the borders and every final reason for the rubber, and for the name of the ownership of the worship of his name. God for the written, for the life, for the love, for this other now to speak for this unbearable stretching under the horrible over the bear, the witness of the behind the bright screens. I squeeze my eyes shut with the bruising under the gripping of the skin, and I'm armed for the cry to please me. Sounding life for discipline over the effort. Soul's observation to cure for the journey, the turning ahead to the dwelling the pockets of the desperation for those withering away for the wither for their own right. Without the strapping or the strapping over that sight and ropes this around the next to this piece of the scattered across the swine and soil. Weep is for us all. We've been made for the night, for this is already here for me, for the color of your eyes already familiar. Both light and dust walk through the shadows of the side, for the center, for the hurricane I hide. I stumble across the more than I can soar, for this is kindness and the lines of path that I've worn. And the spoken words and I can't defend for the saying upon the when I live in the end. The broken rules and the bend of the few for the try to keep in my spirit true, but enough for the failure and the waste of the disguise. This final life, believing in it, or believing the behind the eyes and hold the regret for the also grace. Longing for the
between you and a stance. Stay for a day. Crave silence. I know I needed it before. Kneel, the rugged heart with the tarnished bronze hangs heavy. Belt, the bones just a clapper swings fall. Casey the dreams of the rusted blood. Idle rile, but the turning it into something you beneath to be hopeful. Equal parts, you hated the love and the equal. Darkness at the ends of where the daylight starts just struck with warmth and connect the eyes to those days of the whole summer skies. Your pupils filled with pain for the gathered clouds, heavy rain, which above the stormy gates, which houses smiled in warmer days. Hearts beating at your core hold, death beyond the deepest floor holds. Oceanic surface hides the violence of taking the lives that it takes again forever for the feeding and feeding of fed and over the sinking and lonely bed for the eternally enraptured for those sunny days beyond the tide. You want to try to choose your own salvation. Try to figure out another way of exchanging the destiny with someone else. You may have to try to figure out another way to escape the horrible demise for. Realize your repentance and might have been the answer for your salvation again. Must have touched the lobes of the hair, but for the back of the head, for the some of the lobes of the anointed, for the people to find again. The solution for you, the major problems within the hand of enemy, for your savior for the internet. You must try to confess that this is wrong. Reaching at the highest level of your projection for the within the world to find again. In the mirror, smiles, it took the head to think. Wait, I paused before the blink. It was a reminder of the younger days that it reflected the smallest ways of the mirror that smiles with the disguise of the softness of born from. Sharper eyes, though I know where the should. Face that keeps me hiding inside. In the owl of the stars, of the snowy night, for the stars are bright enough for the moon to shine through the trees, and awaken for the night is still the day, for the day is the night, for this in the clouds, for the lightest fly of the feather, for the almost invisible slightly. Carry soft along the way for the fountain of the quiet stir, for the moonlight will over them, but the silver stare for the fleeting of weeks and the beyond the boundless sky, for this is now the reason why. No sorrow here for no bitter end, for no need to plead, the heart to bend, for the time to unthread, for the what's became, for the just sins and grace, this keep no name for the winds and nor across the sea, for the laughter that moves and set it free, for the not the lost hold, the held over, the bound to save for the terror that's soft along the way. Times a greater piece that sees a grave and green grass and the other side of the in between. They say today you seem to be here for the day for the humorous and get for the remorse of the thoughts that you impure. Struggled over the agony for the which you had the greatest silence over the need. Tapper swings and fells of distant casing dreams, and this is all. I don't rather never the need to be hopefully over the equal parts struck by the connecting eyes, and this is when the hope and hold the summer skies and the one to choose in your own. Carry, soft, a long way, silver stair fleet, weeks about the sky, for this is a reason why. Glen the pollen over the bright wings and the parted over the degree, for the defy of the winds of the catastrophic, over the, you could be the frozen footsteps, this is heaven, it's in the grief. Echoes of something beautiful stretched, this the final weeks, felt endless for the love, it is something to hope for, the simply is no wait for this is tether for the no need to stay. Its fate unravels something won't more. Just let you slip into the gentle tender seam, since sinking over your thirsty earth. This is the wind that carries your name for the here and now. Now it's a loss, but it's a whisper of something beautiful, drifting, lingering, still real for the faith that shifted this. I won't resist to this. I love you anyway. Casper's the words are left behind, and he is not friendly as that ghost to say in between, for the yet to play for the same team, for the unseen members of the weave, for the mind, for this the eyes of this the morning, and the eyes meet the mind, for this it doesn't know it. Something is missing in the Nova sorrow again, for the despite the burning notes, and this is saying her name, moving on for the matter matters for the weather it is, for the remember for the what it was, this funny. Rolling with a lost expression for the lost trial, for the circling and the dive, for the vulner in the eye, for the something that keeps the blanket tight, for the rolling of the no wonder for the getting up to seems so much suffocating, for the summer is here. A mantis cannot get the taste of the dearest of the memory, for the saying in the war I find waking up is the same. It's not the same, but the weight that not brought you back for this to come, so the wishing for the forget your presence, and I wish That I didn't have to wish for the allowing you to share myself again. For the mind, for the not give you the opinion, for the think, the love, for the beer, for the bear, for the over the seer, for the over the one, the soul, for this the love, the question, for the how, the hold, for the love, for the all, for the will, the happiness isn't to define your love. But it wasn't, doesn't feel like for the moment before, for the one. It felt like the silence of the war, for the not peace, and the silence of the For the one of the seven screen for the inhaling for the before the jugular opens and for the seconds for the body for the isn't realizing this is the levels of the body and the clinging of the dick for the comforter for their nippies for that for the manicure for the lungs just to blood of the knees the anthem for the positive of the shadow teeth for the performance out of field and that is a church never the final nail for the between the tension over the tenor for the tension over the thrones and just crack the kind of final straight standing over the I'll be there for the smiling and final straight up for the drinking over the serenity for the creating over the war I can find only patient I can hear but before the not the piece of silence of the stretching but you can have it between it's broken enough for the feeling is so unusual with the cato with the silence and the cadence the barn for the step of the through the crack and for the tearing into the existence for the turning back of the something unnamed defined for the universal language and ever the moments of words of time to disappear for the stand strong for the realizing this wretched and over the season for the rap of the year heating. Head out of bread comes the head out of crumbs so that there were whole meals ate them for the it didn't have to know better for this but you lit the joint for the take a shot for the plate and the part for the girl who didn't mind for the being the second for the smaller for the
The war for the another piece, in the silence for the just to be the stretching of the skin for the one of the silent scream for the inhaling of the before the check of the hold for the hold, the cold, the seconds for the body for the edge and realizing this is the love for the goodbye. And the clinging of the deep for the comforter for the nudity, for that for the manicure for the lawns of the just bug of the deep, for the anthem for the positing of the shattered teeth for the just to be the more than I don't feel. And that is in church, you never define the nail for the between the tension for the tenor for the tension over the throne to this across the kind of final standing over the I'll be there for the smiling and smiling straight up for the drinking for the serenity for the creating for the war I can find the pace and I can hear me. And the moments before the not the piece of silence of the stretching over the had between is broken enough for the feeling is so unusual for the cable with the silence to be the cadence. The barn for the step of the through the crack and over the terror into the existence for the turning back for the something untamed, defined for the universal. Language and never the month to worse the times to disappear for the stand strong for the realizing this wretched over the season for the rapidly heating. You were held out of bread crumbs, the head of the crumbs so that there were whole meals eaten. You didn't have known better for this creeping over. But you lit the joint for the take a shot for the plate and apart for the girl who didn't mind for the being a second for the smaller for this being silent. You taught me how to disappear with the spell for the told me I was almost enough for the believing you're almost something you're proud to be for this one to watch you away for the shit and never the scrub to your name. Well, I wanted the truth and you knew that. Dang on affection like a pride to the end for the myself rage, just for the earn what you should have been given for the sitting of the records. You're not crying, the remembering and the wondering and why I let you. You never saw me anymore for the never to be held up with your blurry gaze. This is fine to see me now for the learning of the one that more than Quran. So I find what's the outcome for the creeping. Meld up with the rock for the past that it grabs up for the going and remember you. Think too fast and never gonna remember you. Ask for the disability, welcome me more for the levels of the confusion, for the seeking the clarity when I'm lost to fall. Where are my tears then? There was a time when the sorrow split me open for the poured into the salt water. I can find this not sit this thing behind the eyes, writing for the permission for the never the rising for the shape of the grief and the never the knock of the wind out of me for the great speak out of the barking. We talk a lot for the word of music new for the what they couldn't say for the solely for the nothing breaks and doesn't loud enough for the sharpening and you can find the healing and for the full of cup just to find a single drop. And people say that's the strength for this drought. Silence for the scream for the should be for the standing in the flood for the dry cheeks and this is heavy bone. Mr. Belief for the cracking open the mess of the surrendering. If the proof of this is stillness off inside it, I can find it enduring and quietly, politely, and wondering if the tears in your hide are gone for good. Vision a ghost fire that swells this shore. Tip is a desire crafting solace and with the heart's affair. Fire gray beyond meaning is showing your hope and the following over the immortal for the word for the often the world remains. Scratch on the glass and the wicked erase for the scene of great. Others and losers from the where the tears are for the sorrow that split me open and poured into the salt water. I can find a vision that goes in the heart's fire. The sunlight on the ground, the shadows around a silhouette for the temporary heart. Wish I could redo what's sitting there for the writing letters to you for this light guns and roses for the never the remember ring for the return for the distance, the ashes, stars in the sight for the running down the time for the warp of the life, the stillness in the storm for the chaos around me for the feeling, the focus and energized, this fine depression still. Giving up. Stop talking to me. Never think about it anymore for the one to be left alone for not to care about what's this far. The reflection of the grief for the didn't hate. The shore for the catching the wave for the forgotten about how to be still. Only all. Fun of rejection is anxious and traveling our base of our map. Escaping with the life and the final vision for the dwelling upon it for the I am too. Sort of. The exit for the frantic and furious better for the door for just another room that it didn't want to be in for the maddest indication of house and home for the debate for the will for the dancing cycle for the grass and sinking to operating over the dawn for the sun the secret over the obsession with the fish. This is still swell. In the silence for the just to be the stretching of the skin for the one in the sadness scream for the inhaling for the jugular open to the roll the gold the seconds of the body for the isn't realizing this and the left of the skin body. And the clinging of the dick for the chlorophyll for the new beneath for that for the manicure for the lawns for the just to under the need for the anthem for the positing of the shattered teeth for the disobedient on the final field. And that is in church and never the final nail for the between the tension over the tenor for the tension over the throat to this crouching pound final standing over the I'll be there for the smiling and smiling straight up for the drinking over the serenity for the career and for the war I can find the pace that I can hear. But before the not the piece of silence of the stretching over the you had in between is broken enough for the feeling is so unusual for the cadence with the silence and this will be the cadence. The barn for the step of the through the cracking of the terror to the existence for the turning back for the something unattained. Defined for the universal language and never the monster words of times and disability for the stand strong for the realizing this wretched and over the season for the rapidly year heating. You bring out of the bread crumbs, the out of the crumbs so that there were whole meals ate and you didn't have known better for this week. But you lit the joint for the take a shot for the plate and the part for the crow who didn't mind for the being a second for the smaller for this being silent and love. You taught me how to disappear with the spot for the told me I was almost enough for the believing I almost was something you're proud to be for this is whether wash you away for the shit and never the scorpio ain't. I wanted the truth and you knew that. Dangled affection like a prize at the end for the myself rage, and for the earn what you should have been given for the sitting of the wreckage and not crying of remembering and the wondering and why I let you. And I never saw me in anymore for the never to be held in with your blurry gaze. This is fine to see me now for the learning of the one that we were more than crumbs. I find what's the outcome for the creeping. Melted with the rock for the past and the grabs of for the go in and remember you. Think too fast and never gonna remember. You'll ask for the disability welcome me more for the levels of the confusion, for the seeking the clarity amongst the fog. Where are my tears then? There was a time when the sorrow split me open for the poured into the salt water. I could find this not sit this thick behind the eyes, writing for the permission for the never the rising for the shape of the grief and the never the knock on the wind out of me for the gasping of the bark. Lots. But we talk a lot for the where the music knew, for the what it couldn't say, for this lately, for the nothing breaks and doesn't loud enough for the sharpening it. And you can find the healing and for the full cup, and just to find a single drop. And people say that's the strength for this drought. Silence for the scream, for the should be, for the standing in the flood, for the dry cheeks, and this is heavy bone. Mr. Belief for the cracking open the mess of the surrendering. If the proof of this is stillness off inside it, I can find it enduring and quietly, politely, and wondering if the tears can hide or gone for good. Fishing. A ghost violet swells this shore. Tempest a desire crafting solace and with the hearts of fair. Fire gray beyond meaning and showing your hope and the following over the immortal. For the word for the often the world remains. Scratch on the glass and the book can erase for the scene of gray. And others and loser for the where the tears are for the sorrow to split me open the pouring into the salt water. I can find the vision that goes in this heart of fire. Sunlight on the ground, for the shadows around a silhouette for the temporary art. Wish I could redo what's sit there for the writing letters to you for the like guns and roses for the never the November rain for the return for the edge of the stars of the sight for the running down the time for the war for the life and the stillness in the storm for the cook to the chaos around me for the feeling the focus and energize this fine depression still. Giving up. Stop talking to. Never think about it anymore for the one to be left alone for not to care about what's this fun of reflection and the grief for the didn't help over the shore for the catching in the wave for the forgotten about how to be still on the all fun of rejecting this anxious and entrapment our being surviving avenue for the escaping of the life for the final refusal for the dwelling upon it for the I am too sorta. And the exit for the frantic and furious, better for the door for just another room for the didn't want to be in, for the maddest indication of house for the horror, for the debate for the river, the down to the cycle for the grass is singing to operating over the dawn for the sun, the secret and over the obsession with the fish, just still swim.